For more than 20 years, I have insisted that the Black community had to become politically independent for the purpose of our political empowerment. I ran for President of the United States in 1988 as an independent, the first African American and first woman to appear on the presidential ballot in all 50 states. In the 1990s, with the parole boom in full swing, I joined with a circle of white, upstate parole allies to form the New York Independence Party, which acquired ballot status by polling 217,000 votes for our gubernatorial candidate, Tom Golisano, in 1994. Subsequently, as the Independence Party grew, we acquired column C on the ballot, becoming the state's largest and most influential minor party. My interest in creating the Independence Party was twofold. It is a vehicle to challenge the partisan and corrupt self-interest of the state Democratic and Republican parties and bring reform to our political system, which is so desperately needed. And it is a vehicle through which the Black community can peel away from the Democratic Party, which monopolizes our votes while giving very little in return, and gain political independence for itself. Bringing independent options to the Black community is a fundamental principle of mine, and I've worked very hard over many years, causing much controversy along the way, to persuade Black voters and Black leaders to join me on the independent path. We've seen the success of that appeal over time. Today, of the roughly 800,000 non-aligned independents in New York City, 20% are African American, another 24% are Latino, and 11% are Asian American. Political independence is increasingly popular within communities of color. Nationally, 30% of African Americans between 18 and 29 consider themselves independents. Black support for political independence and nonpartisan reform has been a critical factor in New York City politics over the last 10 years. In 2001, the New York City Independence Party endorsed Mike Bloomberg for mayor after he came to us and asked for our support. In that campaign, we took a stand against politics as usual and against the abuse of Black leadership by the Democratic Party, providing Bloomberg with his margin of victory in that turning point for our city. 4 years later, our Bloomberg on C campaign was instrumental in a monumental defection of 47% of Black voters away from the Democratic Party. And in 2009, the New York City Independence Party polled 150,000 votes, giving tens of thousands of Black voters an opportunity to pull the lever for an independent mayor on our independent line. The proposition that Black people can exercise political independence and wield greater power as a result has been resisted strongly by many in the political establishment, particularly in the Democratic Party establishment, and even within the Independence Party itself. The state Independence Party leadership believes so strongly that Black people had no place in independent politics that they tried to throw all of us out. But we successfully blocked those efforts, and the New York City Independence Party, which is now in effect autonomous from the state party, has continued to grow in size and strength, including in the Black community. This year, a new and important development in Black political independence is taking place, which brings us here today. My friend and colleague, Councilman Charles Barron, is running for governor to create a new political party, the Freedom Party. Charles and I have spent many years discussing independent politics and the Black community. Elected to the City Council as a Democrat, Charles has been an outspoken leader on the council and inside the Democratic Party about the needs and aspirations of the poor community and communities of color. Now he has taken the step of creating a new party, the Freedom Party, dedicated to the proposition that all men and women are created equal and that political independence is the best way to leverage an agenda for positive and progressive social change. Heaven knows New York State needs as many independent voices to speak out for poor people and disenfranchised people as we can get. So I welcome Charles Barron's entree into independent politics and his bid to create the Freedom Party. And more than that, I want to urge the Harlem community, together with independent-minded people across this state, to help the Freedom Party get the 50,000 votes needed for ballot status. The Independence Party, of course, has a gubernatorial candidate this year, Andrew Cuomo, a traditional liberal who says he wants to reform Albany. On the one hand, Democrats say that every year, but this year is different because Cuomo is not just running as a Democrat, he's running on the Independence Party line, New York's premier pro-reform party. And in this, the voters of New York finally have a real choice. They can vote for Mr. Cuomo on the Independence line, or they can vote for Mr. Barron on the Freedom Party line. With either vote, the twin causes of independent politics and black empowerment will be advanced. I'm a longtime political independent, and what it means to be an independent in this day and age is to support candidates who build our movement, strengthen our capacity to reform the system, and speak for those so dramatically left behind by the special interests of labor, business, and the inner circles of political elites. Equally, I have been a spokeswoman in both major and minor party politics for a nonpartisan election system. Here, in this most important election, I call upon African Americans and independents who have supported a nonpartisan system to display that same political sentiment and vote proudly for either City Councilman Charles Barron on the Freedom Party line or Andrew Cuomo on the Independence Party line. While Charles Barron and I have disagreed on some issues, including support for abolishing party primaries, which I strongly endorse, Mr. Barron has never been an enemy of mine or of the New York City Independence Party and its multiracial county organizations, nor, and this is most important, has he ever been an enemy of white independents. On the issues that affect the lives of poor people, working class people, and middle class people of every race, Charles Barron deserves support. Having a new and independent multiracial party with a line on the ballot would seriously advance the struggle for fair elections in our state. We would join with the voters of California who enacted Proposition 14, which abolished party primaries and lifted up the cause of nonpartisan governance and politics. And we would be taking a next step towards my dream of genuinely fair elections in America. It's a long, hard fight to open up the political process to empower the disempowered. And I've long been convinced that the American people, Black, Latino, Asian, white, if given the chance, will make better choices. We have 2 good choices this year to make that happen. And it is the responsibility of all those who've rallied for a decade for a Black and Independent Alliance for us to lead the way. Let's create the Freedom Party. Let's strengthen the New York City Independence Party. Let's use our votes in November for power. Let's create the Freedom Party. Let's strengthen the New York City Independence Party. Let's use our votes in November for power.